All right. Hello and welcome to Freedom Homestead. My name is Tangi, and you have found yourself in a web of a wonderful, wonderful book club. And these gorgeous ladies that I have around me are my friends and fellow content creators and fellow real foodies. And we are so pumped to be here with you today to discuss this amazing book that we've been talking about for a while now. And that is Beyond Labels by Sina McCullough and the gorgeous, the wonderful, the brilliant, the ever wonderful, just can't think of all the words, Joel Salatin. So we're talking about food freedom. I think in a nutshell, like if you want to say what this book is about, it's about food freedom in like every sense of the word, in politically, monetarily, nutritionally, in all the ways this book is about food freedom. So we are glad that you are here. We hope you stick around. And if you aren't subscribed to our channels, we ask that you do that because this is what we share on our channels. We share about food and how to grow it and how to preserve it and how to cook it and how to buy it. And we do all those things. Plus, we do other things. So we hope that you do join us. Over to on this side, this is so weird. This is Anna from Fermented Homestead. And then here is Constance from A Good Life Farm. And then over here, we have Julie from Row & Co Farms, and all of their links are down in the description box below. So if you aren't already subscribed, I hope you do that because these are pretty amazing ladies that are pretty amazingly knowledgeable. And yeah, okay, so intro's out of the way. How's everybody doing? How's your week going? Y'all good?
Doing good.
Good. Glad to see everybody in the chat. I am excited about finally getting in the dirt, finally getting things planted. Everything that I love about this book is that we can do the best we can at the grocery store, but really what it all comes down to is, can you grow it yourself? And if you can't, here are your options. But if you can, here's some more options. And that's what I'm doing. I'm planting. All right. So, do you guys have anything you want to say before we jump in?
You're pretty amazing too. I just thought I'd throw that out there.
I agree.
Stop it. All right.
And I like your hat. It's pretty
Thank you. Let me tell you something. I have been on YouTube for 6 years, I think. And that's about how long I've had this hat. This is my gardening hat. When this hat comes on, that means things are happening.
Yes.
The big guns are out now. Yes. It's time to do the work.
Exactly. Okay, so we are in chapter 5, and this week's assignment was bites 41 through 45. And so as we stated last week, chapter 5 is about going from the high. So we started at the bottom of the totem pole, which is processed foods. Then we shifted up to high quality process, talking about how to do that, what to look for, how to buy it, where to buy it. And now we're going from the high quality processed foods into the whole food realm. This is kind of my happy place. I mean, I do the high quality processed foods. Sometimes I do lower totem pole stuff too. But I love the whole foods. This is happy place right here. Okay, so in practical bite number 1, we're talking about cooking a whole chicken. So tell me what do you do at your house with the whole dead chicken?
I do this a lot. I am a chicken fiend, and the only reason for it is the bone broth, which is what is in my cup today. I don't really care about the chicken. Honestly, I detest chicken breast. I will reluctantly eat it if I have to. But when I have chickens, I'll usually feed it back to the chickens. I hate chicken breast. I think it's disgusting. Or I'll mix it in some kind of like a salad or something like that. But usually the way that I do it is I put it in a stock pot with a gallon of water, and I cook it up, and I make myself some good old meat stock. That is what I like to do the most with it. And then I will salvage whatever meat is left on there. That is also the best way to make the breast tender. Also, I should note that it does make it fairly tender, so you can kind of salvage it if you mix it in with other stuff. Put it in a soup, like that. Then it's good. But I like, as far as like actually eating the chicken breast, I'd rather feed it to somebody else. But mixing it in with stuff is great. Occasionally I'll roast a chicken because I really like a crispy chicken breast. And but I have recently discovered that it is amazing inside of an Instant Pot. Cooking it inside of an Instant Pot, you can put it in there on the rack and you cook it. I can't remember, it was like high pressure for an hour. We'll pretend that's what it is. I don't remember what it is off the top of my head. But then you can take it out and you can put it in like your air fryer for like a couple of minutes and crisp up the skin, and it's so tender and juicy, but then the skin is super crispy. I love it. Sorry.
I do love chicken meat, and including the breast meat, and so I will use it any way I possibly can. I do love to just roast in the oven my chicken for dinner, and then use the leftover for other things, casseroles, etc. And then, of course, using the bones and all of that to make broth out of. Absolutely don't want any bit of it to go to waste.
That's right. That's right. I feel like Forrest Gump when it comes to chicken, because I pretty much have to. So I'm like fried chicken, fricasseed chicken, sauteed chicken, what else? Roasted chicken, bone broth, all the chicken. Yes, yes. I guess we're all familiar with that reference. We're all old enough to know Forrest Gump. Most people do, but yeah. Yeah, so when we butcher our chickens, we used to always only do whole chickens. And so, yeah, we were always trying to figure out, okay, what are we going to do with a whole chicken? Of course, you got the roasting option, and that's usually what I would do is roast a whole chicken. But I found that if you just take that chicken and take one whole chicken out at the beginning of the week, if you don't want to cook a whole one, part it out and then use those pieces throughout the week to make different dishes. I think it's a cool meal prep thing, because then you can say, okay, I got a couple chicken breasts, I've got some wings, I've got the leg and the thigh quarter, you can use that for something. And then you can still make bone broth in the end with all of your leftover bones. So that's kind of my trick tip. I don't have a specific recipe because it could just be whatever. I mean, I literally use chicken in everything. So whatever I decide to make it, I turn it into a chicken dish. So there.
One of the things that I love about whole chickens, and I think, if you're someone who's really watching your pennies, you can get an organic chicken fairly reasonable, like at Aldi. Now, if you're going to buy it from a local farmer, you're going to spend a bit more, but it is one of the more affordable proteins, and you can use the whole chicken. And like y'all were saying, one chicken, you can make several meals, and then you can use the bones and the feet. You can use all the other parts. I'll just put it that way. For broth, you can keep the giblets if you like giblets. It's definitely, I think, a really great, if you're starting to slowly work your way over to, better meats, then getting an organic whole chicken is definitely a really great way to go.
I got one more thing to add to that. If you are doing, so say you not pressure can, but do a chicken broth in your Instant Pot. When that's done, you usually are going to have some fat at the top. Scrape that fat off. Don't throw it away. Use it. Okay. So you're going to use literally every single part. After you pressure cook a whole chicken for the broth, a lot of the times the bones are so brittle, they literally crumble. I feed some of that stuff to my dogs. So I'm literally taking every single part and not wasting it. Like after I've taken what I need from the bones, the dogs are getting the rest. So yeah, I mean, we're going to use every single part of that.
I've heard you can also dehydrate them and turn them into bone meal for your garden.
What?
I've heard a lot of people I don't know how much nutrients are left in it, but I mean, there has to be something, right? It's not just nothing.
Something. I've never tried that. I've seen people do that with their eggshells, like crunching those down and then sprinkling those in, but I've never done it for the bone meal part.
I haven't either. I just heard about it and figured I'd throw it in there.
Kathy says that she enjoys chicken feet and spaghetti sauce. Now, I have seen, and we even heard Joel Salatin talking about how they can't keep chicken feet in stock because it makes such wonderful gelatinous bone broth that people who are waking up to this way of eating, like they're just buying it all up. So my question to Kathy, as someone who's never eaten a chicken foot, what are you eating? Like there's like nothing on there. There's so, I mean, like
Or are you using it to
nibbling
bring the gelatin or the flavor into the soup broth or the sauce?
that's gotta be, I
We
mean,
need to
I
know.
have eaten chicken feet.
you have like
I
is there
have.
anything on there
Yes.
to eat? It just doesn't seem like
When
enough.
so it was either my senior year in high school or right after high school. One of my closest friends was from China, and her family owned the only Chinese restaurant in town. And once a week, they would go down to Chinatown in Chicago to get all of their ingredients and things that they needed for the week. They would do that on Mondays. And one time, she invited me to come with her family. And there were a variety of things that I ate that day, and I can tell you that was one of only two things I could identify. And actually, they were really good. You almost ate it like corn on the cob, and you just kind of nibbled off all of the stuff, and just spit out the bones, and it was really good. Um, not a lot of meat to it, but it was really good.
Yeah. Yep. She said it adds flavor and texture to the sauce. I will tell you my favorite part of the chicken. Nobody else eats it. I don't even think my family realizes that I eat it. And it might even sound gross. The tail, that little nub at the end of the carcass,
Yes.
it's fatty and delicious, especially if you roast it. I mean, if you boil it, yeah, it's not so much, but if you roast it and then that skin and that fat gets nice and crispy, and if you roast it long enough, I mean, it'll pull right off. And that's the cook tax right there.
I
That's
take the skin of the chicken and fry it up in little pieces, and it's, oh my gosh, it's like pork skins almost, like, but it's so good. It's so good. Try that next time. Just pull your skin off, like still eat it, but just cook it up separate and just have it as a little snack. Oh my gosh, you will not forget
Skin chips.
Mario Batali calls it the Pope's hat. The Pope's hat. I have not heard
the
that.
little tail is called the Pope's hat.
The Pope's hat. That's funny. Yeah, it is. Like it is so good.
I love this group. I love this group.
Heather said the backs are great too, similar to the tail. Let's see. Yeah, it's oh yeah, chicken skin chips. Yeah, the first time I ever thought about doing the skins that way, like you were saying, I don't know if you guys watch Indigo Neely. She does a lot of like keto type. She used to do Trim Healthy Mama, but she found that a high fat diet for her is what makes her feel better. And so she did she was doing like a meal prep, and she had cooked some chicken thighs and then took the skins off and put them in her air fryer, and she seasoned them up with some kind of seasoning and then just crisped them up. And her kids were all eating them, and I mean they're like really crunchy, and I was like, oh my gosh, that sounds so good.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, I'm trying to get my mouse.
Chicken liver pate. Okay, yeah, I'm looking at that too. I need to try to make that next time. See, in the past, I don't ever save those parts because I am not familiar with using the livers. I've never liked livers. I'm just, I always throw it away, but I'm like, I want to do something with it. I feel like we could make it edible somehow.
Chicken is like the mildest type of liver from what I hear. I usually do save all of those parts, but they usually ended up going to well, sometimes the chickens, but like to the cats and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that's cat food in my house.
But I have a few Ziplocs of chicken livers that I saved left over. But like the chicken, the feet and the necks and the heads, I would always put in the cavities of the chicken when I was processing them, because I always boiled the chicken, and so it was just a ready-made broth with lots of collagen in there. And so that's how I like to do it. And then we would just set aside the liver, the heart, and the testicles. And Robert fried up the testicles. It's extra testosterone, and it just tastes good. So he eats those, and then sometimes we'll have the hearts, but he didn't really care for them. He would bread them and like fry them like almost like a deep fry.
I've never eaten reproductive organs.
Yeah,
It's so funny. I
I'm
saw
very-
eat eggs, right?
Yeah, but it's thinking. I saw a thing the other day, and it said something like Rocky Mountain oysters, the original sack lunch, and I just fell over, and I was like, I can't eat these. There's no way I could ever eat that. Like, I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh,
that's hilarious. Oh my
That's-
goodness.
Heather's last comment. That's a good one. I do that with the beef liver when we buy a cow. I mix them all and grind them all together.
You're right. So what do you do with it then? Do you sprinkle it on other stuff, or how do you add it into a capsule and make like a vitamin pill or something?
Like the beef liver?
Grind the organ. Oh, with the other ground meat. I missed that.
Just grind it like together. Sometimes I'll grind it separate, and I'll just have it. I'll set it aside in like 4-ounce portions, and I'll take like 4 ounces of the beef liver and add it to a pound of the ground beef and mix it all up. Add a bunch of taco meat. You can't even tell it's in there.
Okay, so you don't taste it at all like that.
You can smell it slightly, but you can't taste it. I don't think so.
Okay, just put enough cumin and paprika and stuff on it. It'll taste like a taco.
Exactly. You still get the organs, but you don't have to taste it.
Right.
I wish I did it more than I do, but I have that option. I have like 2 or 3 gallon size Ziploc bags of those 4-ounce portions. And I just every once in a while I'll throw them in there.
I feel like that could be a good way, like if you had a freeze dryer, like freeze dry the meat, and then you could powder it, and then you could add it in and probably do it in smaller portions and taste it even less.
Well, I do it so infrequently that I'm like, all right, 4 ounces is good. Because like
You can handle it.
I could do it in smaller portions. I just never thought to.
Let's see. I don't know how to pronounce your name. Reeziness, maybe. It says we eat all of the sheep and goat Navajo here. Yeah, that is one thing that I love about the like nourishing traditions and this way of eating and primal way of eating and all of this is don't forget the organ meats. Like those are so important. And unfortunately, because of our standard American diet, that is, I think definitely an essential, I don't really want to call it a food group, but you know what I mean? That we have left out. And then when you offer it to someone, they're like, I personally love liver. I think especially chicken liver. Gosh, you fry that thing with some greens. Are you kidding me? But also like having beef tongue that was like, wow, that is amazing. We have
that I've had. Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. My mouth is watering just thinking about it.
When we lived in Alaska, my next door neighbor made, I want to say it was enchiladas out of beef tongue. And, she invited me over to try them. She's like, but I won't tell you what you're eating until after you've eaten it. And I'm like, that didn't freak me out. But her family will not eat them if they know that she's done that. But I mean, it was just super tender beef.
So good.
It was amazing.
Yeah, super tender, very, like, in my opinion, like a richer, more beefy flavor. So good. That's what we had ours as tacos de lengua. With muy bien. All right. Kathy says that she has a bag of organs saved for the dog. If shortages get worse, they need liver daily to survive. Let's see. All the bits, especially the hearts and gizzards. Reeziness says it's cultural and traditional. Yeah, and I think too, I mean, historical. If you look back to how our ancestors ate, you couldn't afford to waste anything. Let's see. Yes, tacos de lenguas. It's so good. So good. Okay, so I do like that there is a recipe available to cook a whole chicken, but like you all said, cooking it in the Instant Pot or cooking it, I like cooking in the air fryer, like a spatchcock chicken. Super good. All right. So are we good to move on, or any final thoughts on cooking a whole chicken? Because I think we could talk a while about the next one too. So practical bite number 42, cook one meal using whole foods. So cooking with whole foods can be intimidating. Start with easy recipes and work your way up to the more complex meals. Here are a few recipes to get you started. But in my opinion, when you cook with whole foods, it's going to be simple because it's simple ingredients. I mean, it's just, tomatoes, crush them up with some herbs, put it on some pasta if you eat carbs, have a protein with it.
The dishes are simple, but the prep is not. And that's where people get hung up. It's the prepping the vegetables, prepping the meat, marinating something or soaking something or, it's the prep that gets people hung up for more than anything.
Yeah.
So it's trying to figure out what works for your family and how you can do the prep day to day.
Some of it, I don't think it's not that it's hard. It just takes time. You just have to plan for the time to prep the food.
I think a lot of it's just people are intimidated by it because they're not used to it. Like they don't understand how to do all of these different cooking techniques. And so it can seem very overwhelming. But I like that, right? Because it just says just cook a meal with it. Just pick one and you'll see how easy it is. And then you can move forward with it.
And there's definitely levels of more difficult things and less difficult things. But yeah, I like that they start with stuff like, eggs. Okay, eggs are easy. You can add in other proteins and other veggies to that. And you're easily you've got a whole meal in just a few minutes. I think eggs is a great place to start. Mm-hmm. Sure.
And I guess too, when you think about level of difficulty, I think of Farmhouse on Boone, where I said, crush some tomatoes, add some herbs, and add it to pasta. She actually makes the pasta. So I would think that would be, it's more on the more involved type of scratch cooking. Yeah. But yeah, and like Heather said, the simplest way is to just go simple, meat and vegetable. Mm-hmm. Yep. And that really is the best way to go. I also like that she add the gadgets. That's where the handy gadgets come in. Instant Pot, slow cooker, air fryer. If you're a carb eater, get you a rice cooker. I don't have one of those, never had, but I had a friend that had one and I went over to her house and she put it in there and then she has stuff in the crock pot. I'm like, wow, like you got all these things making dinner for you. That's awesome. But yeah, so just start with one meal, then add to it. Let's see. Am I saying your name? Is it Reeziness? Ask anybody tried canning chicken in an Instant Pot. I have not.
That's dangerous.
Yeah.
You shouldn't do that.
Don't can in an Instant Pot ever. There are some small pressure cooker canners, a few out there. I don't know. There are a few. I don't remember the names of them, but the Instant Pot is not it. Don't do it in the Instant Pot.
You can use canned.
Yeah, that's not regulated for canning.
You can use canned chicken in the Instant Pot, but you can't can the chicken in the Instant Pot.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good question. Thank you for asking that. Let's see. Oh, resiness. Okay, good. That's easier to say. Okay, resiness. Gotcha.
Reservation. Very cool. I love that.
All right. Okay. So what are some of your favorite go-to whole food meals?
Steak. All the time.
Mine would be some kind of taco, so some kind of ground meat, or a roast made into a taco, shredded up, something like that. So a chicken, but that, and so then I would add some fermented curtido to it because that's already pre-made in my fridge. So instead of like a lettuce, I would use that and top that, and then maybe throw some cheese on it, some fresh salsa or some fermented salsa, or just some cut up tomatoes, just whatever. I think to me, tacos, nachos, those are the easiest. Canned beans already. Canned beans in the pantry, throw some canned beans on there. Like that is pretty much like my family's like, okay, what are we having? Tacos? Yep, probably having tacos.
Nice. Yep, that's actually my go-to, and that's what I fixed last night because it was busy and I was hot because we'd been out in the garden all day, and I was like, okay, I've got some thawed ground beef. Tacos it is. And what I also love about tacos is that if you have in your family, people who are limited as to what they can eat, you just put it all out there and then they can fix it however they want it. So that's awesome. It's a good like people pleaser, but like you've got picky eaters or whatever. And that you can do like different proteins with it too. Like you don't have to you're not limited to just ground beef. You could also do chicken. You could do fish tacos. And we got people throwing some of their ideas in the comments. Heather said roasted chicken thighs and roasted broccoli with bacon. That sounds so good. Summertime is all about grilling. Yes. And also, I know we've talked about this before from other practical bites, but cook once and eat many times.
Yes.
Grill all your protein at one time, put it in the fridge and eat on it all week. That's a really great thing to do. Let's see. Delightful Cottage says burgers, chicken noodle soup, taco salad, roasted potatoes, meatloaf, and sides. Meatloaf is another go-to for me. 2 minutes to mix it, throw in the oven, pull it out, and it's done. Heather says ribeyes with sauteed yellow squash and mushrooms, taco bowls and taco salads are a regular staple. Kimberly says beans, cornbread, and corn salsa. Also pulled barbecue pork. Yep. And pulled pork, that's another one. Cook one time. You can fix it different ways, kind of like with the chicken. You can make pork tacos. You can do pork on a sandwich. You can do pork on your plate. It's really, really excellent. And that's definitely, and I keep saying this, doggone it, I need to start doing the freezer meal things or whatever, but I do try to, when I cook, to cook a lot, but my family, we eat a lot too. But I love having leftovers to eat on the next day. The family can send it to work and, and it's way better than, picking something up at a gas station. Because they do.
You would never do that, would you, Tangi?
What? I
pick
would
up food at a gas station.
I wouldn't, but if my family, like if I don't have anything quick for them to grab, they will stop at a gas station and get something. Which, I mean, I have found things at a gas station that I felt good about eating, like an Epic bar, and then sometimes you can get like those pickles, in the like little pouch.
Oh snap!
Sometimes like, and really, you actually have better food options at a truck stop, like. Instead of just a little rinky-dink gas station, if you go to a truck stop, they will have fruit, they will have salads, they'll have proteins. They definitely have more whole food options at a truck stop. Let's see. Heather also said beef tips with mushroom and onion gravy. That actually sounds really good. I haven't made that with my cow yet. She also said lamb burgers and air fried green beans with aioli for dipping. Okay, who's going to Heather's house for dinner? What? Okay.
That sounds good.
I'm going to swing by there on my way to Missouri.
Oh, there you go. Missouri. I don't know. Why do people say that? I'm sorry if there's any Missourians here who say that, but I've heard people say Missouri, and it just kills my soul.
My
family around here calls it misery.
Says Missouri.
Let's see. Kimberly says, when I make meatloaf, I make at least 2 or more at a time, eat one and freeze the other. See, why don't I do that? I've got to do that. I'm actually, you know what? Well, we're eating at church tonight, but I'm going to make meatloaf tomorrow. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to set out 4 pounds of ground beef and I'm going to make one for the freezer. When I came in, like I said, yesterday from the garden, I was like, okay, I have got to seriously do some freezer cooking because I'm hot now that because my daughter used to be my big help. When I was outside working in the garden, she would be in the house cooking and cleaning, but now she has a full-time job. And my son could do it, but he's not as enthusiastic about cooking as she was. So I'm going to prep, and I actually have some pans I can put in the freezer. I'm sorry.
You're planning. It's good. You got to write it down when you have the thought. If you're like me, I have to do that too.
I'm going to do two.
I can say when summer rolls around and it's garden season, now I am taking the year off of gardening this year, but normally for me, it is slow cooker season because you can start stuff in the morning. It can cook all day. It's not going to heat your house up, and you come in, you're filthy, you're exhausted, you just want to take a shower and eat something, and it's sitting there waiting for you.
Slow cooker or instant pot if you forget?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh me. Heather also said
Yeah.
pork carnitas with green chili sauce. That sounds amazing also. But yes, I love me
Those are-
some slow cookers. And that's one thing too. You know, they make those. There's a freezer cooking where you just put all of your crock pot ingredients in a Ziploc bag, and then you can just dump it, turn it on, and then you're done. That's awesome. Okay, so any other thoughts on starting with the one Whole Foods meal?
Just keep it simple.
Keep it simple. Yep, I agree. Keep it
I like
simple.
it. Some people say it's the KISS method, and they call it the keep it simple, stupid. And I saw somebody else who's like, I don't say that. That's too negative. It's keep it simple, sweetie. And I was like, I like that. Keep it simple, sweetie.
I like that. That's good.
Yeah, I like it. That's better. Heather said raw veggie salads are underrated too, not just greens, but tomato, red onion, cucumber. Oh, yes, all the things. And again, these are things that you can prep and keep it in the fridge and eat multiple times. Doing better with Mariah says that the air fryer puts off little heat, so it's perfect for hot summer meals. Agreed. Yeah, all of these wonderful, wonderful comments. Kimberly says our state is split, half Missouri, half Missouri. I'm Missouri. Glad you're moving here, Anna. Love that. Okay. All right. So moving on to the next one. Did I skip one? Okay. Well, we've actually kind of already touched on this.
Yeah.
Practical bite number 43, save time and money by batching and storing. So I don't know. Is there anything else to add to this?
One thing that I really like to do that makes it really practical for us is I'll make like a big giant bowl of like some kind of a curry or a chili or something that's like saucy, right? And I do what I call a refrigerator can it, and I just put it in the canning jars, put the lids on hot, and so that as it cools, it creates a vacuum. And so you can put it in the fridge and it lasts longer than your average Tupperware. And you can just keep it in the fridge for however long you need to. And then my husband really likes these saucy kind of things. I'll usually just have it as is, or maybe I'll put it over some zoodles or something like that. And he can take it, put it over rice, potatoes, whatever he wants to do with his carbiness with it. I haven't done it since we lived here, so this is old news. But it's a great method for people who are like, just cooking a single meal, or you can put it in a quart jar if you're cooking for a family, and you just dump and eat, and you've got like an entire week or however long you want worth of meals ready to go, and it's super easy and they last forever. You don't have to worry about
things about what you just said that I love with those concepts is number one, anything saucy is always better the longer it sits. Yeah. And two, curry, chili, all of those things, you put it in a plastic container, it's going to stain and make that container smell. So by putting it in a jar, you're eliminating those options. And then, I mean, if you really wanted to, I guess you could, well, I was going to say you could take it, like if you stored them in pint jars, you could take it to work the next day and heat it up in the jar.
You could.
Yeah.
I've done that a lot.
Take the lid off.
Yeah.
So those are brilliant ideas. I love that. Especially, I love the idea of having curry anytime I want it, because that is one of my favorite things. Oh my gosh.
I have a canning recipe for it.
I was going to say, I think you have a canning recipe for it. That would actually be really good, because I like pre-make like a curry paste. And I don't pre-make the whole meal, but I pre-make the paste because that's a little bit time consuming, and then I'll freeze it in little jars. And then when I get ready to make some, I just grab the jar and I can toss it in, and it can do its little aromatic thing without having to grate the ginger, grate the turmeric, do the garlic, because it is time consuming for that part. But if curry's your thing, that's a cool way to kind of pre-batch curry, sort of, a little bit.
Yeah. So sometimes I'm just clicking on some of the comments, so they'll pop up, and just to highlight them so people can see them later. Really, really excellent suggestions. Kimberly's the one that I got my tomato plants from. If you guys saw my garden update video. Breakfast is her favorite thing to prep ahead. Can make a quiche to eat on all week or breakfast sandwiches to keep in the freezer. And also, quiche is one of those things. It doesn't have to just be breakfast. It can be something that you can serve with a salad for dinner. I love quiche. Unfortunately, I'm the only one in my family that likes it. That's okay. You can make little ones too. You can make little bite-sized ones.
Jars are absolutely microwave safe. You just want to take, of course, the metal lid off if you're using the metal lid. Of course, I mean, they do make the storage ones that are plastic. I would take that lid off, just like put a napkin or something over the top so it don't splatter. But yeah, it is totally safe to put jars in the microwave.
Yes. So Mariah says that she does that with meatballs, does batch cooking. Let's see. Oh, yes. Heather, yes, said making your own mixes. And I know that Julie has a video on making a bunch of different mixes. What about you two ladies? Do y'all have any mix?
I don't think so.
I don't have videos. I do have several on my website, agoodlifefarm.com.
Yep. Yeah, my video has literally all of those that she's listed. Taco seasoning, French onion, ranch, I think Cajun. What else did I do?
Did you do seasonings?
I did not do seasons. What did I do? I did some specific. I did French onion, taco, ranch, Cajun. Now I'm going to spit it out in about 5 minutes.
What did you say before?
Man, now I got to know.
And it's funny that you say that, Heather, because yesterday I used the last of my taco seasoning and I'm like, I've got to remember to mix them up because, again, tacos is one of my favorite go-to quick meals. And if you have to take out all the seasonings, and it adds time. So it's amazing how, just shaving off 1 minute of prep work makes such a big difference. But I love having the homemade ranch seasoning on hand for I make a lot of Mississippi roast. That's one that we really love. And I do it with chicken and I also do it with beef. And I use the ranch seasoning. And of course, you can mix it in sour cream for a dip. You can sprinkle it over just about any protein. It is really, really handy to have on hand. I've not done French onion soup mix though. I should probably make some of that. That's good. Kathy said, she's so hungry. Me too. I'm not like eating all this or talking about all this food. Delightful Cottage says that she likes baked oatmeal and muffin tins, bakes faster and freezes nice. Waffles and pancakes are great for freezing. Oh, yes. Thank you for saying that because my husband, he said that I made the sourdough pancakes and I made a big batch and then I froze them. And he said those are the best pancakes he's ever had. They also love that they can just pop them in the toaster. And then they have like fresh sourdough pancakes that I made homemade, still good for you. And like you said, they freeze beautifully. And since my son and I are doing primal, I need to make some more paleo pancakes or paleo waffles because that's what we've been eating. He's been using a sandwich bread and I just like to put cream cheese on it and everything, bagel seasoning. Oh, here we go. Heather says, did I say Heather? Heather. I was trying to say canning and Heather at the same time. Heather says, canning whole meals is another great prep. I need to do this more often. Soups, stews, chilies. Yes. I know myself and Anna we both have keto chili, canning keto chili. And what's awesome about having a beanless chili is that you can do a bajillion different things with them. It's really, really good on hot dogs and bratwurst and things like that. And you could also make it into a casserole if you want to. You can use it as a soup base if you want to.
You could even add a can of beans to it afterwards if other people want to have beans.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think, any sort of meal starter. I have, I know I have a video where I did, I'll think of it in a second, stroganoff. But again, you don't have to just use it for stroganoff. You can use it for lots of different things. It's basically the soup base with no thickening agent. And it's just got your seasonings, the broth, the meat, and what else? Tomato paste. Super duper good.
Yeah.
Chicken pot pie.
Yeah, chicken pot pie. I was going to say chicken pot pie. I know, Constance, you have, I think I do too, have Sloppy Joe, canning Sloppy Joe meat and canning taco meat already finished. Those are really good too. So yeah, all of those are nice starters for meals. Yeah, I use the Sloppy Joe mix. That is like chili cheese fries all day long. I never eat a Sloppy Joe with it. I just make like, I get some good frozen French fries. I can't help it. I love frozen French fries. Those will probably never go away.
Same.
Yeah, then I just do that, and then I heat up a jar of that Sloppy Joe mix, and then I grate some cheese on it, and then some cowboy candy. Man, you can't beat that. Like, it's so good.
Yeah.
So good.
Man,
we put in a baked potato too.
Yes.
Like in a stuffed baked potato. That's probably the Sloppy Joe mix, I think, is my go-to convenience meal. Like, when all else fails, throw some potatoes in the oven, whether it's fries or whatever, heat up a jar of that, some cheese, we're good.
Yep.
Yep. You could even do that in a spaghetti squash would be another option.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Goodness, I'm so hungry now.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
Heather said she loves the canned beef roast and pork roast for when I just can't be bothered. Yes, absolutely. And that's one of those things where, if you're sick or if like I'm going to be out of town soon and it's just going to be my family, there's not really a whole lot. As long if you can heat it up, you can eat it. And you can just tell them, just pop open the jar, heat it up, put some sauce on it. Bon appetit. Let's see. Kimberly says, I love tater tots done the same way with sloppy Joe meat and cheese. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we did that too.
Oh my word.
Obviously, we love our potatoes, guys. You can put that taco meat on any potato product you want. It'll taste good, okay?
Exactly. There's a place. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Well, I was going to say there's a place up the road in the town where my husband and daughter work, and it's a barbecue place. And one of the things on their menu is called the King's Ransom. And it's this huge baked potato, and it's got pulled pork, barbecue sauce, sour cream, cheese, bacon, green onions. And it's like, it's so good. It's so good.
We have a barbecue place here that does the same, and you can get it with brisket or smoked turkey or a few different things, and they are very good.
Yeah, very good. I'm a potato addict. Yes.
we need a one of those like potato anonymous support groups.
No. One of us needs to make a T-shirt about potato lovers meet here Wednesdays at 12, 11, whatever time. Book club, potato eating club.
Oh, so something that Valerie just said, she was talking about how she's just canned a bunch of jellies and pickles and things. I know I mentioned this one time. I was watching, I never can get their channel name right. I think it's Simple Living Alaska. Yep. Simple Alaska Living. I can't remember. Anyway, they did a couple of years ago, for 30 days, only ate what they grew on their property or what they hunted. They did not eat anything store-bought. And so my big takeaway from that is relishes, toppings, pickles. It really, really, I think, staved off food exhaustion, gave them something to keep things fresh. And I think that when it comes to whole food preparation, that is a way that you can keep things interesting or, just kind of change the palette of the dish. So like we said, cooking a whole chicken, eating on it all week, but each day maybe serve it with different pickles and relishes and sauces and things like that you've made. So you have control over the sugar, you have control over the salt, you have control over the spiciness. And that would be a really great way spice up your meals.
Mhm.
All right. So are we ready to move on to the next one? I know this is one that you guys are probably itching to talk about. Anna's like, oh yeah.
It's like, yes, yes, yes.
Okay, so practical bite number 44. Eat a daily helping of microbes from ferments. Now, why on earth would we want to eat fermented food? I thought that's when food goes bad, isn't it?
Absolutely not.
Take it away, Anna.
Oh, Anna.
When you consume the fermented versions of any type of food, you consume with it the microbes required to break down that food in the future for your body. And it also depends very heavily on what type of ferment that you are actually using. A lot of ferments are what they call like transient ferments, transient bacteria, where basically they just work for a couple days in your body and then they move along, like yogurt. That's something, but even if it is transient while it's in your body, it's still doing really good things for your body and for your gut. And it's really, I miss them. I'm doing a gut healing protocol right now. And it's like, I feel the mental difference when I have the ferments versus when I don't have the ferments. And right now I haven't had them for like 3 weeks or something like that. And I really miss them. And I really miss them a lot. They're really great. They help you to be able to feel more satiated. They help you like with a lot of your different types of hormones. They really help. They basically just complete your gut and the connection between your brain and your gut. If you have the right amounts of not even necessarily the right amounts of, but if you have the right different types of microbes in your gut, each different type of microbe does a different thing inside of your gut. And if you're consuming, it says here, eat a daily helping of microbes from ferments. I'm not going to lie, I didn't actually get to read this particular part, so I'm not sure exactly what it says within this particular bite. But if you consume a different one on these different days, say if you have like 7 different ferments and you consume 7 different ones each day of the week, you're getting seven different types of these ferments, and each one of those has anywhere from like 7 to like 40 different microbes inside of it. And all of those different microbes, they have different tastes to them, and they all have different functions within your gut. And all of them do like totally different things, and all of them work synergistically together. And that's why it's also good to have the fermented food version of it as opposed to the actual. I mean, there's nothing wrong with probiotics, but it's like, it's all just kind of thrown together things, but it's like, people don't understand how these different things work in your body and in your immune system and all these different things enough to know. It's like when you isolate curcumin from turmeric, sure, that curcumin does certain things, but the turmeric does so much more for your body. So you can isolate that. You can isolate a certain ferment, or a certain probiotic. But if you ferment that probiotic in the presence of all these other things as well, you're going to get all of these different things that the good Lord designed to work in your body correctly. If you isolate it, you'll get a benefit, but you get so much more benefit if you consume the whole fermented food, and it's like, it's just so freaking tasty. Sorry.
Yeah, that's really interesting to me because I did not know, which makes sense because if you take an antibiotic, there are different antibiotics that affect different infections and things. So it makes sense that something that is a natural probiotic would be the same way. I never thought of that.
Yeah, I've been learning a lot about it from the Super Gut book. Like he's got some pretty good amount of research inside of his book, and he's talking about like you can almost like cherry pick whatever type of different probiotic strain or bacterial strain that you want, and they all do various different things, and it's fascinating. It's so insane. And that's why I created my new gut health channel, so I can talk about it a little bit more.
I was just going to say, by the way, Anna now has a new channel all about this topic.
Oh, yeah.
All about your gut.
It's the same with vitamins. The vitamins are better in their whole food form versus just taking a vitamin that's not soluble or conducive with your body and the way it uptakes that particular vitamin. It works better in its whole form. And it's the same, obviously, with ferments. Yeah, you can take a bunch of little pills and they has the little stuff in it, but it works so much better when you get it like the way it's supposed to come, because you're getting all the other stuff, not in isolation. Nothing works in isolation. Nothing in our body is working like, oh, this one cell's just doing its one job and it doesn't come into contact with anything else. Obviously that's not true. We all know it's not true. And so to think anything that we do, even in outside of our bodies, we don't do anything in isolation. It's all connected.
Yeah, they used to believe that like the stomach was a sterile environment and there's no microbes in there. They've proven that wrong. They believe the same thing with the womb. They believe that there was no microbes in the womb. They've proven that wrong. It's like, no, like the good Lord designed all of these things to work and to do his bidding in our side of our bodies and inside of this entire world. And when you try and kill them all off, or you don't embrace them for what they do for your body, you're missing out. You really are. And you're missing out on a lot more than just having a happy gut. It's having a happy mind. Like I literally, like I love fermented foods, and it's a really big struggle for me right now not to go over there. I got sauerkraut in my fridge. It's the tastiest thing you ever had in your life. But it's like, I can't have it. And then as soon as I do, like, I swear to you, it's like, it's almost like this whoosh that just goes through your body. Like you can feel it, like as your body is taking it in, like you can feel the change. You can feel it in your mind. You can feel it. Like, it's crazy the amount that your gut controls your mind. If you understood it, like even to the basic level that I understand it, you're just like, oh my gosh, this is fantastic. And like the way that they used to treat like gut issues and stuff, I don't know if they still do, but they would sever the vagus nerve and like, oh, it's all gone now. No, it's not gone. Like you just can't, you just can't feel, you can't feel it in your mind. Like it's still there. It's still doing all of the damage that it's doing. You just don't know about it anymore because 90% of the information that flows through your vagus nerve goes from your gut to your brain. And it is like you control 10% of your gut controls 90% of your mind. It's crazy.
That's awesome. So Waynette says, what is the best fermented food if only consuming one? Now, Heather has already given her what her answer is.
I would say sauerkraut.
Sauerkraut.
What did Heather say? I can't read from this far off.
No,
that's like you have to pick what you actually enjoy eating.
That's true.
Saying, hey, this one has the most of something. Like just find something that you can incorporate into many things. Like for me in our house, like I said earlier, we eat tacos all the time. So for us, curtido is the like Hispanic version of a sauerkraut. So we add a few other things in it and it tastes really, really good. So that's what we use most of the time. And my family doesn't like ferments, but I can get them to eat the curtido because it has a good flavor. It doesn't, and I don't add a lot. I just, a little sprinkle over the top, give them a little dose of something, and that's all they need. So, but I would say, yeah, pick the thing that is the most conducive to what you're going to actually consume. Maybe it's yogurt every morning. Maybe it's a kombucha. Maybe it's a sauerkraut. Maybe it's it could be any of those.
Milk kefir is a good one.
Yeah. Milk
and
kefir.
It's really easy. It's like I think milk kefir is the easiest ferment to make. I honestly do.
I've never had it.
Oh, I like that.
I'm sure I would love it though, because it's like yogurt, right? The taste.
It's a little thinner, so it's just a more drinkable version of yogurt. To me, that's how I would equate it.
Yeah, that sounds really good. I would love that.
Mm-hmm.
I need to get some. So that's why you held up your book to answer Valerie.
By William Davis. Fantastic book.
So Heather put the different types of probiotics and then what they affect. Microbiome influences brain state in a major way. Okay. Mm-hmm. So lactobacillus, serotonin. How do you say that? Bacillus? Okay. Bacillus?
Bacillus.
Okay. Dopamine.
Bifidobacterium is GABA.
GABA. Sorry. Okay. Microbiome. Okay. All right. So yeah, our favorite ferments in our house, which I love the Cortito more than my family does. Sauerkraut. I know Jack and I both love that. I'm not really sure about the kids though. Yogurt's one that's loved by all. Kombucha is loved by all. Sourdough is loved by all. And those are the ones that we usually have in our house. but I definitely want to try milk kefir because I think as much as my kids love yogurt and do smoothies and stuff, that sounds like it would be perfect.
It's great to add to smoothies, and it's so easy to make. And my understanding, I could be wrong, but that like the fermented, especially if you use raw milk, you don't have to use raw milk, but it's better if you use raw milk. But it has like, I think it's like 47 different strains of bacteria. Like it is the most powerful ferment that exists to my knowledge. There could be other things that I'm not aware of, but I have been told from many different sources that milk kefir specifically, enhanced with raw milk also, is the best thing that you can do. And it's so tasty. You can flavor it any way you want to. You just dump it into a smoothie and you're good to go.
I am literally salivating. Heather says pickles. And I guess if you could also hold back some of the milk kefir. I'm just thinking and that would that'd be a really great salad dressing base too.
Oh, yeah. It would, like a nice creamy ranch.
I have one. My friend mentioned this to me, and I had never heard of this ferment before, just because I just hadn't. But she does fermented collard greens, and they end up, I don't know if you eat collard greens, once you cook them and you put that vinegary sauce on them, that's what you're getting with the fermented kraut, collard green kraut. It's interesting. It's very interesting. And you could then heat it up if you wanted to, and you'd still have that same kind of flavor. But I'm going to try that this year. I have never done it, but she intrigued me so much with it that I was like, I'm going to try this. That sounds really, really good. So
I'm going to let you try it first, and then you tell us what your opinion is.
I'm going to try it. I mean, what harm can it do?
Yeah. Kimberly said, where do you get your milk kefir grains to get started? I looked at Azure, but we didn't have a great first experience with our pickup.
I get mine from, I have the most luck when I order them on Etsy.
Etsy, yeah. And
you just have normal people who ferment their own and they sell the excess grains. That's the best luck that I've had. I tried doing the cultures for health, the dehydrated ones. Yeah. I didn't. It's not that they didn't make kefir, like they made kefir, but I just didn't like them. They stayed little and they were like brown little nubs. And I don't know. I like the big fluffy, what do you call that stuff? Cottage cheese textured milk kefir grains. And Etsy's
takes a while several days longer to like rehydrate everything and get it going.
I didn't have patience for it.
Yeah, she's like, no way. Fermenting is a patience thing. It's all.
You don't consume the grains, right? You strain those.
No, you can, and people do. Like they'll add it, like if they have extras and they don't have anything to do with it, because it grows and grows. It's like a Scooby for the most, but a different variety, and it keeps growing. And I would add the excess grains into a smoothie or something like that, and just have it, and it's really delicious, and it just adds an extra level.
I'm really excited about the idea of mixing it with the homemade ranch seasoning and making a salad dressing. I think that would be, and it sounds like it would be super duper easy too, and super duper healthy. Oh,
yep.
I got to get some milk kefir grains, y'all. Okay. Heather says Etsy is where she gets her scobies. I grow mine. I'm patient, so I can wait. And I actually have some. So, hey, Kimberly, if you want a SCOBY, let me know if you need one. Because I've got some. Okay. All right. So let's move on because we have just a few minutes left. The last one is add one English is hard. Add one prebiotic each week. So examples of prebiotics include jicama, onion, garlic, asparagus, chicory root, leeks, celery, dandelion greens, underripe bananas, Jerusalem artichokes, and tiger nuts. Huh. Who knew that prebiotics would be in all of these amazingly delicious foods? And probably a lot of you are getting them and didn't even realize that you were. So let's talk about what is a prebiotic? Why is it important?
Prebiotic is food for bacteria. It is the insoluble fiber that comes in food. your body cannot digest it, but the bacteria can digest it. And if you have a messed up gut microbiome like myself, it can actually cause you a great deal of pain and bloating and gas. And that's one way that you can tell if you have gut issues. If you do consume a heavy dose of prebiotic fiber, then and you have those said symptoms, you likely have a gut imbalance and that you need to address. But it's basically food for bacteria for the most part. And it also fills up, it bulks up your poo so that you have larger poo. That's pretty much it.
Let me just tell y'all something.
Is it about your
Poo
poo?
is where it's at.
I hope it is.
If you don't know how you're doing overall, your poo will tell you. My daughter actually told, because I told her this, I said, if you really care about somebody, you will ask them about their bowel movements. Like, seriously, if you really care about somebody. And so she actually told a guy that we go to church that I said that. And so one day I went to church and he said, Sister Tangi, how are your poops? And I was like, and then I thought, does he really want to know? And then he started laughing. He's like, your daughter told me what you said. He said, so just so you know, I really do care about you. I hope you're pooping okay. I'm like, yeah, we're good. Thank you.
Always well.
Pretty funny. Okay, so prebiotics. So if you are someone who could just look at food and get gassy, that's a good indication that you probably need to up your prebiotics.
Mm-hmm.
What's a good indication that you need to up your probiotics? So I think you talked about brain fog is one of the telling.
If your moods are imbalanced, if you have issues with moods are a really good tell. If you have a lot of, I know that people like to think that it's like an imbalance in the brain and things like that. People have like depression and all of its forms, you know, schizophrenia, all that kind of stuff. And anybody who has those sorts of issues can definitely benefit from a targeted regimen of probiotic foods. It will really, really benefit you tremendously. And I'm not somebody who really tends to suffer a whole lot from that sort of thing. Thank God, because it runs in my family very heavily. And I'm very surprised that I have escaped that. And, but I have moments where if I'm not consuming it, like right now. And there was also a time where I wasn't consuming them before I was doing what I'm doing currently. And like, I'll kind of go through cycles of it, and my moods really reflect it. Mental health and probiotic foods really go hand in hand, because like I was mentioning earlier, 90% of the information goes from the gut to the brain. And if you have an imbalance in your gut, you're going to have an imbalance in your mind, you know. And it's like, I mean, not to say that it's a guaranteed cure all if you have mental health issues, but I have known of a lot of people where it has been. And if they maintain it, and if they do all of the other things that go along with it, then, you know, you're definitely on a good track. That's my input.
Yeah, I pulled back up what where Heather was talking about how your microbiome influences your brain and what the different strains of probiotics affect. So serotonin, that's your sleep, right? Your dopamine, that's moods. So if you're, like you were saying, moods, depression, can't sleep. I don't know what GABA is. I know that it's somewhere back here in part of my brain, but I don't really know. I can't remember. What is GABA again? Anyone?
Can't remember either.
I don't know all the, yeah.
I think it's something to do with happiness, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but I think that's what it is. Heather, where are you, Heather?
She'll come back in here, but she did also note, the mental health changes, hormone imbalance.
Skin issues. Skin issues are a big sign of a gut imbalance. Huge. Anytime that I'm doing good and my gut's doing good, I'll have clear skin. But anytime that I'm going rogue, or if I'm not eating healthfully, things like that, like I have certain spots on my body, like my shin, my left shin, my right knee. I got this little patch right here. And then there's a couple spots that will get like really rough and itchy and just funky. And and then as soon as if I cut out the carbs and I start to increase the probiotics, then it goes away. And
I also
know mood.
Dandruff, severe dandruff is another indication. Of course, that could also be food allergies also that can cause that.
Food allergies usually are a sign of a gut imbalance. It's not usually the food
gut
itself.
I remember last year, y'all, when I had the eczema. I had eczema. Yeah, I'd never had eczema in my life, and I had eczema for about 6 months, all over my face, and I was devastated by it. I was like, this has got to go, and I could not, for the life of me, get rid of it. I went the traditional route. What the traditional route is antibiotics. So obviously they know it's gut related in some way, that there's something happening in the gut. So I took antibiotics for 2 months.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Really, you took it for that long.
Then put antibiotic creams on it too. And ultimately it lessened, but it didn't go away. Once I came off of all that, it took another 2 months, but it is gone now. It is completely gone. Honestly, I don't really know what changed. I don't know. I can't pinpoint, like, obviously there was something going on. Things are better now. They're more balanced, but the eczema's gone. But I'm so scared that that's going to come back again. And I think that that'll be my indicator. Like, okay, something's going on in your gut again. You got to fix it. So yeah, it was not good.
So all good pointers and advice. We are over our hour, so let's go ahead and wrap it up. I will say that I really enjoyed this conversation. I enjoyed all of the input from y'all watching, especially the different foods, the whole foods, things to do with the chicken. Glad that I'm not the only one that eats the butt of a chicken. So next week, I am going to be in training and will not be able to host the book club, but Constance will over on her channel. So Constance, do you want to keep the same time?
Yeah, we can keep it consistent. We'll do the same time and everything, and it'll just be over at A Good Life Farm.
Okay, perfect. So tune in next week, 11 Central, 12 Eastern, 9 Pacific at A Good Life Farm. And do you want to do Practical Bites 46 through 50?
That sounds good.
Okay. And that will actually wrap up this chapter. That'll be the end of the chapter. And then the following week, we're going to see if how it will work out. I know that I will be out of town again doing more training. So we'll just stay tuned and we'll see if one of the ladies can host it then. So reading for next week, Practical Bites 46 through 50, and the book club will be over on Constance's channel, and I will be watching the replay because I won't be able to watch the live. But anyway, all right. So you guys have an amazing week, and we will catch y'all then. So,
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
My mouse.